Welcome back to the Filmreelcast, the podcast that just keeps giving. And this week, in this week of times of energy crisis and there's fuel crisis and people are just being rinsed of their money, it's nice to get something free. And as usual, this free, wonderful podcast is here. And Neil is expensive, but he's here anyway. Neil, how are you, mate?
I'm well, and you know I'm as cheap as chips, aren't I? Let's be honest. Don't sugarcoat it.
If you're a prostitute, you'd be high class.
Oh, you could buy me for a packet of Polos.
Why didn't you tell me that?
Because I knew you'd pay more.
It was worth it. Seriously, it was well worth it. Yeah, chocolate digestives. Seriously. It's good to have you on the pod, mate. We didn't do it last week. It was just a really, really busy schedule, and we was going to do the we may have done it last week, but I can't even remember. But we're going to do the Matrix 2. Instead, we are doing Dawn of the Dead. Just a filler. Next week we should be back on track with the Matrix 2. But we're not doing the 1978 George A. Romero. We're doing something different. It's just on Netflix, and I just thought I'd just pull something out of the bag, which is nice and short. And we're doing the Dawn of the Dead, but we're doing the 2004, which is directed by Zack Snyder.
It is.
Yeah, and it comes with a lot of promise. Especially, I mean, I hadn't seen this film, but I really enjoyed. And the review is on our YouTube channel. It's a very short review, Filmreelcast on YouTube, of his Army of the Dead that he did. And it's like a Marmite film. You either love it or hate it. Have you seen it, and what side of the fence are you on?
I did, and I'm one of those annoying people that's in the. Am I? No, I didn't like it. Actually, it was pretty pants. I was going to try and be nice about it, but it was quite boring. To be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. It was I
liked Anna Della Regura in it, who plays Maria Cruz. She's one of the reasons to watch it. I actually gave it a really high score, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, because I know that there's so many things wrong with that film, and if we really pulled it apart, and if we did like a proper review on it, I'd probably be different. But I did a review just after watching it on Netflix, and I really had good fun with it. I enjoyed it. The zombie tiger, and just there was stupid things with regards to the baby and stuff like that, and that was nonsense. And they kind of, in a way, addressed that in this film, the 2004 film. But I mean, it's got a good cast. I love Ving Rhames. I mean, he's always going to be Marcellus Wallace, and as cool as fuck quotes. I mean, the guy is just so cool. But Kai Pfeiffer, brilliant in ER. He should be a doctor, that man. He is so good. And you've got Phil Dunphy as well, Ty Burrell as Steve. I mean, from Modern Family. I cannot take that guy serious. If you watch Modern Family,
I have seen it. Yeah, you can't take him serious. And it's
just so funny. And Michael Kelly always plays a baddie. Sometimes comes good. And it's interesting when you watch this film, and this is like a remake of the, as I say, the 1978 one, where again that is set in a shopping mall. So they kind of do play homage to those like the scenarios and stuff like that. They go in a slightly different direction. But if you would have had like a shot from like Reservoir Dogs with this cast all walking down, and you paused it, I'm pretty confident you could have guessed by the end of the film who was going to live, who was going to die.
Yeah, well, there again, did you watch it until the end of the credits?
Yes, I did, yeah.
There you go. So, but no, you are right. It's, you could tell, couldn't you, who was going to survive it, really, from the beginning. Yeah. Definitely. But
yeah. So what were you like on the zombie front? Do you kind of go to those films? Do you like the Walking Dead and stuff like that?
Do you know, I watched a lot of the series of The Walking Dead, and then I sort of got a bit Walking Dead out, if you like. It was a bit, it just went on and on and on and on and on. So I haven't seen the last couple of series. I do like zombie films. I like the comedy one, Zombieland, which is just, I love that. It's just hilarious. Obviously, Shaun of the Dead, again, hilarious. No, I do like zombie films. I just think there's been a lot of them, hasn't
Yeah.
there, recently? And it was nice to watch this again. I saw this years ago.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I've seen it before, and I sort of sat there and I go, oh yeah, I think it's this film, blah blah blah, and sort of went through it, and I was right, and I did enjoy it the first time I watched it. But yeah, I do like a zombie film, but I think it's hard to keep them original now, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
it's all
it's
been
really
done.
difficult. Yeah, it's really hard to from the slow walking zombies, and I mean, when it kind of started, it really reminded me of Planet Terror. I don't know if you've seen that, like the Grindhouse films. And I didn't know whether it would kind of be in that B movie format in the hospital. And it just, I think it's Rosie O'Gowan. I think that's her name. I can't really remember, to be honest. But I probably pronounced that completely wrong. But it reminded me of Rose McGowan in the hospital with when she approached that doctor and she's talking at the start. And they've got Josh Brolin, who's another doctor as well. And it was really, really B movie, really gritty, but it kind of didn't go in that direction. But I do like zombie films, but oh my God, you just spoken about it earlier with regards to what's the one with Woody Harrelson in Zombieland.
Yeah, Zombieland, brilliant film.
Yeah, and that's always a go-to with regards to kind of shoot them in the head and the cardiovascular work and stuff like that. Yeah. And I always think about that now, especially when people are being chased by zombies.
Yeah, do your cardio.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
But I'd not seen this film, and I'd seen like City of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead. I think I'd seen the original Dawn of the Dead, and they done that. They also did the Bloodline one as well, didn't they? Which was quite a modern one. I must admit, I can't remember that.
The one with Brad Pitt.
No, that's Z Nation, isn't it? They did like, I don't know, it's like Land of the Dead Bloodline or something like that. It's like a modern one. I remember there's been so many.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy them, but it's difficult to know where to take them to make them original, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. I think we've just gone for a massive spate, excuse me, of just people throwing zombie films at you. It's a bit like at the moment, it's just superhero film after superhero film.
Yeah.
And they're all good in their own way, but you're like, can we have a break from it for a little bit? And I think that's exactly how I feel about zombie films at the moment, because it's just, let's think about something else.
Yeah, and I always find it interesting that zombie films are always set in a world where there clearly aren't any zombie films.
Yeah, yes. I was thinking that when I watched this, because you're like, you wouldn't do that, would you? Because every zombie film you've ever seen would tell you not to do it. But clearly, like you say, they've never been made.
It's really strange, isn't it? That
yeah.
If someone would have made a zombie film, they would have made millions and millions because it was an original idea. But they don't think, no one says, oh, they're the Walking Dead, they're zombies, we need to shoot them in the head. It's like they just don't know this. It's something new, and it doesn't make any sense.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And they go, oh, I don't know how it's happened, and when people are coming in with bites and stuff like that, it's like, come on, guys, it's fucking obvious, isn't it? But there you go.
It's so good. And on YouTube, if you put "Making of Dawn of the Dead," there is, like Zack Snyder, a commentary of this with the extra bits. And there's a hell of a lot of extra bits, and they actually show you the making of it, the different zombies, and the makeup, and the stunt men. And I mean, I watched this film twice this week, and just before we did the pod, I watched the making of it. So I kind of fully immersed myself into this film, and it's really interesting. And you can see where some of the ideas that he had in this that he didn't actually do, that he brought in, like to Army of the Dead. And Zack Snyder's a massive zombie fan. They bought the rights of this from the original Dawn of the Dead, which obviously I didn't realise. But it starts off, and it surprised me that you see our main characters, and I suppose in a way, I mean, what you think. You've got Anna, Sarah Polley, who plays Anna. She's the nurse. Her, possibly Ving Rhames, and Jack Webber, who plays like a love interest, a temporary love interest, are the three main characters in this, aren't they?
Yeah. I'd say it's definitely more Ving and Sarah Polly that are the main characters, and I'm not being funny, like you said, when you know who's going to die. I think as soon as that interest started happening between Jake, I instantly thought, I bet he's going to cop it, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's quite funny because even after 5 minutes, you get your first death scene, your first attack scene, don't you? Which is quite comical because she comes home from hospital, hard day at work, and on the radio, obviously, there's the broadcasts of people being attacked and stuff, which she decides not to listen to and just puts music on, which is a real trope in itself, isn't it? When there's like warning and stuff like that, I'll ignore it and I'll just carry on. And
I work in hospitals, but I'll ignore the fact that this shit's going on. It's fine.
Exactly. She goes home and decides to make out with her husband. And I love the fact that you see this little girl, Vivian, from the start. And I was hoping, the only thing that disappointed me in this film, and it did make up for it in Army of the Dead, was I love seeing the zombie cheerleaders. And you do see, and I take it is the same girl, Vivian, we see later, isn't it, in a minute, after 5 minutes. Because it isn't their daughter, I think.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no mention of any children, and she doesn't actually pay attention if she has got children. But he wakes up, and you see this Vivian, who they spoke to earlier, where she was on her roller skates with her helmet on, and she's there, and she attacks the husband and bites him on the neck. And I really wanted her to be a zombie on roller skates with the safety helmet on. It would have been so much better, I think.
It would have been funny, wouldn't it? It would have been funny.
Yeah, I think it would have had a bit of tongue in cheek to a subject that deserves a bit of tongue in cheek to it. I don't think you can take these too serious, and I think it would have been awesome, especially after 5 minutes. But that girl, when she was having her makeup done, actually kind of on set, that she never saw what she looked like. They never gave her a mirror because of her age and how disturbing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and her mum was there all the time, and it's really, really good makeup. The only time she saw what she looked like was once it was filmed, and she actually saw the film. So it was really, really clever, and they really protected her as well on set with regards to the kind of hours worked and what she was able to see. But she was absolutely brilliant, and she's been in other films as well, played different zombies and monsters and stuff like that. So yeah,
obviously
she's found
niche.
But the husband, and I take it is a husband, does get taken out, and it amazes me when some child who looks like a zombie, the dead, has just bitten her husband on the neck, and that isn't the bit that freaks her out. It's more the fact that her husband's dying and bleeding out. It's really weird reaction.
I find her reaction around her partner and stuff quite odd anyway, because you don't really ever see any sort of, she's never upset about it, if you see what I mean. Like afterwards, there's no mention of it or anything, and it's just like, oh well, that happened.
There's that one moment where she cries, isn't there? But I took it that she was crying just at the whole situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's, I don't know,
it's very strange, but and there's I don't know, there's no kind of like, she's obviously shit scared of it, but there isn't a reaction of talking to herself as in, oh my god, he's got up from the dead and he's been bitten, what the hell's going on? And it's a really, really strange reaction. It's a good tense scene, but for a fact immediately she's going to be the hero of this, and she isn't going to die. So the tension isn't there, because anyone who knows their zombie films knows you can't get bitten or even scratched, I think, isn't it?
Depends which film it is, but generally it's biting is the rule.
I was a bit disappointed at the makeup of this, but when I looked at the commentary, they explained that in the first third of the film, a lot of the people you'll see, because it's just broken out, are more human looking, as if they're people who could be present in like an ER room. Then in the middle third of the film, they're kind of a bit more kind of creepy, lost a bit more weight. And then in the last part, that because there isn't any food, their skin's hanging off and kind of they're malnourished, and they broke it down to 3 parts. And when you watch the film, you'll see that slow that regression of them kind of being humans to zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
It's
clever.
quite
I
good.
like that.
Yeah, and that kind of like thought, oh yeah, fair enough. I was moaning about that, but that makes perfect sense. But I
It
do
does.
like the fact, and it's all green screen as well. When she gets out and she's in the car and she looks around at all the houses, that's one massive green screen.
Is it really? I
Yeah,
never knew that. I never picked that up. I have to be honest. The scene with her in the bathroom was so tropey.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. It ticks the boxes, doesn't it?
Oh, didn't it? Oh, I can't get the window open. I can't get the window open. Oh, he smashes through the door. Oh, look, the window opens. It was
Yeah.
just.
And
It's
then you've got the
like,
part where they kick and their legs are still there to add to the tension. But why they never get bitten on the legs?
I don't
Never
know.
ever.
No, they don't. It's like zombies don't like feet or something. They're like, oh, feet. Oh, no, no.
But it's really good fun when she runs outside to get in the car. And again, it's been done in so many different films that the guy's got the opposite with a gun and he just gets taken out by an ambulance.
It
I
was,
love
yeah.
that.
I found that funny.
Yeah,
I
I
did
think
find that funny.
any random death, it's like that film where, and I can't even remember it now, but where you die or where you cheat death, Final Destination, when
Yeah,
you've got
yeah,
the
yeah.
friend who steps out and the bus hits her, and it's just bang. I think they're brilliant deaths. They're so good.
Yeah, definitely. Oh,
But she kind of escapes and she has a crash, and then it flicks to like a break in the news where you do see where the credits load up. And I take it it's someone from like the United Nations who's being interviewed, and he's clearly got no clue as to the severity of the situation, what it's caused, and how to deal with it. And it's completely dumb to the idea, isn't it?
oh, definitely. He has no freaking idea, does he? It's, again, obviously, zombie movies haven't been made because he just has no idea what the hell's going on whatsoever. It's quite funny. It's like, okay, clearly
It's
we know
so
what's
good.
happening, but you don't. It's fine. It's all right.
I
Don't
wonder
worry
if
about it.
Dracula came down that they wouldn't know who Dracula was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh, brilliant.
she crashes, and conveniently, old Ving, who's a police officer, and he finds her, and they then run into Mekhi Phifer, which again I've got problems with because he's a really good actor, and Ving wanted this part, and he kind of made his agent hunt down the writers, hunt down Zack Snyder. And James Gunn as well, saying that he wants a major part in this film. He really,
Really?
really wanted to be in it. Yeah, and I just wonder whether if Mekhi Phifer had the same thing, because I think he was wasted in this because he plays someone who's just a complete idiot, really, isn't he? His girlfriend's pregnant, and
Yeah.
understandably, he wants to protect the girlfriend, but even when a bit later on, he kind of goes beyond rational thinking, doesn't he? Just for the
Oh,
sake of she's
massively.
pregnant.
Massively. I mean, no, I'm not being funny. No one would do that, would they? It's just
No,
what he decides to do is just absolutely nonsensical. You just wouldn't do it.
no,
It would be heartbreaking, but you've seen what's going on, and then he decides he's going to go and do that course of action. It just
yeah,
no.
it makes no sense, and it's a real shame because I think his part was wasted in this. I think he'd have done a whole lot more and been a much better character. But yeah, it's just I suppose he got paid at the end of the day, and he was quite happy with what he did, but
Yeah, definitely.
he could do better. But they do make it to the shopping mall. He wants to go to the there's like a fort where the army have set up, and we learned that his brother's in the army, but all the army have been wiped out by all of these zombies. So it's a pointless mission of where he is. So they're kind of kept in the shopping mall, which I personally would have stayed in there. I think that's an excellent place. And if it's barricaded up well, even on the bottom floor, you could have stayed in there for ages. You could have had so much fun in that shopping mall, couldn't you?
You could, and it'll have loads of food and like entertainment, like you say. It would be amazing. But I often find it quite a strange choice because surely it could be absolutely rammed of people, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could have been rammed with shoppers. Yeah, you're completely spot on. I never even gave that a thought, to be honest.
Because I'm thinking, let's go to one of the most crowded places there is and hope that there's no zombies there. It doesn't make common sense to me, other than the fact that there's lots of things there to do. But
that's true actually. And now you bring that up, which is a really good point. And I think it's Bing Rames points this out, but the zombies are possibly acting on muscle memory, which is why they've come back and to the shopping mall. So surely, if they were attacked, they will be in the shopping mall already, wouldn't they? But mind you, I suppose it's locked up, isn't it, by the security, maybe?
Yeah, I suppose it's just fortunate that the outbreak happened after they locked up for the night.
That's very convenient.
All the customers have gone home.
And it did make me laugh that when they try and obviously break into the shopping mall, they throw a toilet through his massive shop window, glass goes everywhere, loads of noise, and then they creep down the main hall of the to not make any noise after throwing a toilet through a window.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So good. And again, and you do get the tropes when they're in a shopping mall when they split up. But Kai Pfeiffer goes and, well, token gesture, he comes across a zombie the other side of the window, and that's his kind of journey. Is anything going to happen to him? And you also see it's Michael. He goes on a little journey and looks around a sports shop, and the fact of the rules of these films, one of them is going to come across a zombie and have a fight. And it's so funny. There's so many kind of unwritten rules on these films, and when they're trying to make them original, as a viewer, you think, Mekhi Phifer's seen one, but he hasn't come into contact. So Michael, therefore, has got to actually see one, and he does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, one tick. We'll wait and see what happens. And you did like at the beginning, because a lot of the characters in zombie films are just cannon fodder. So you do think, oh, is he gonna cop it, sort of thing. But very quickly you realise that he's not going to.
No, you realise it's quite a major part. But if you know there's people around who are zombies or monsters or the undead or whatever they are, and you're in this at one side of the door and you can see movement on the other side of the door, would you honestly open that door?
No, I'd barricade the fucking thing and go back and tell to people, guess what, there's a zombie behind that door.
Yeah,
don't go in there.
No. I have a gun. He's got like a bloody croquet hammer that he's standing. It's absolutely awful. But it's really, really good because they do have a fight, and it's a brilliant death. You do see the mop laying on the floor, which is convenient because you know that's going to be a weapon later on. And when they're rolling around, he gets that mop handle, and or the croquet stick handle, and he shoves it up his chin through the top of his head. And the special effects are absolutely brilliant because what they did was they created like a prosthetic head, and it's a mold, and it's so lifelike that you just can't tell the difference. It looks like special effects, but very, very good special effects, but it's an actual dummy. It's so clever.
Yeah, no, I have to be honest, I think the special effects in this film are pretty good, to be honest. Even, because it is a lot of prosthetics, isn't it, and stuff like that. When there's scenes later on of heads getting shot off and blown up and stuff like that, and it looks fairly realistic.
Yeah, I mean, what they did with a lot of things, like when they're on the roof and they're naming people like Burt Reynolds and Rosie O'Donnell to shoot and stuff like that, they're all stuntmen, and they've got quite thick wigs on with packs on the back of their head that do blow up, so it releases brain matter and blood as well. And you actually see the designs of how they're built by the special effects crew, and it's so clever. And when the people get shot in the head, spoiler alert, because we're going to spoil this film like we do every single film. If you don't know that by now, then you're a very sad person. But Phil Dunphy gets shot and killed in this, and it's such a trope because what he does, he turns round earlier on in the film, and he may as well break the fourth wall in this because it's just terrible. When he says to Anna, if I ever turn into a zombie, you can shoot me in the head. And she's like, with great pleasure, I will. And for a fact that means he's going to turn into a zombie and she's going to shoot him in the head.
Oh, definitely.
And when he turns and gets shot by her, what these people do, and it's so clever, is that they've got behind their backs, they wear this padding, and to protect their spine, and they've got a long tube that comes out just below their neck, and it's full of obviously fake blood and again brain matter, and they control the explosion themselves. So it actually explodes and shoots up. So when a lot of these people get shot in the head, you actually see the splat go behind them. It's because they've controlled it themselves, because they know how their body's going to act, and it just shoots up, and it's so clever and so effective.
No, that's brilliant, isn't it? That is fantastic, and to think that it's all done from their own.
Yeah, it's brilliant practical effects. Yeah, it's great, and as you said, it's great that it's practical rather than all special effects.
Well, it's nice, isn't it? Because if it's all CGI, it doesn't become particularly believable, if you like, with the special effects and stuff like that. So it's nice that they still have old school ways of doing stuff, and really clever ways of doing it. And like you say, if he's pressing the button himself, he knows that when it's going to go off exactly and how he can act and stuff like that, and he can make it more realistic. Because I suppose he would feel the explosion or whatever,
That's right. He can do it with his body and move rather than one of the stunt coordinators doing it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you do get the 5 characters. I think it's 5 characters or 6 characters, and then they obviously have to increase that. And there is another zombie attack where Mekhi Phifer's missus gets scratched, and she covers that up. And she goes upstairs, and then they come across 3 more security guards. And out of those 3 security guards, especially the fact that Michael Kelly, who's CJ, who's like the head of them, that he's bad, but he's going to have a very tiny origin story of being a baddie. And somehow, from wanting to kill them and having them as prisoners, using them as bait and turning them out, that they accepted him as a good guy pretty quick, didn't they?
Oh, very much so. The turnaround with them. But there again, I guess they were just desperate by that point, weren't they? To be honest.
Yeah.
But he's such a dick in this film, isn't he?
Oh, it's terrible.
Him and his little protege.
They're
just fucking knobheads. They really are. They play their characters very well, because you instantly just dislike them and think, God, you can imagine that before all this happened, they walked around as security guards thinking they are proper big bollocks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they don't initially allow them onto the top floor of the shopping centre, but then they kind of have them there, but they have to hand over their weapons, and they're more kind of captive than guests there, aren't they, to a certain degree. But and again, I kind of found it quite funny that then you see Michael when he's trying to talk to CJ, that is almost as if he's trying to be really clever and playing mind games, as if like, well, what do you want us to do next? And Michael comes up with this idea and makes out that it's CJ's idea and that he's a clever guy. And I kind of thought, CJ isn't smart enough to obviously work this out, what he's doing, but it doesn't add anything to the story.
No, it doesn't. No, you're right. It doesn't add anything, but I suppose it just shows how thick CJ is, and he just thinks he's some big shot when he isn't.
Oh, definitely. And the funny thing is, when they were, when he had stitches, because Ving cuts himself, and they make a point of showing him cutting himself when he falls into the fountain.
Yeah.
Or when he's kind of wrestling with a zombie, and there's never kind of any payoff for that, is there?
No, not at all. I wondered why because I thought that why, surely something's going to happen with it. Oh, is he going to get infected because he fell in the same water as the zombie that was dead? Or something like that, but nothing came of it at all. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe that is an idea that they were going to run with, but then decided not to.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, whether there be blood transfer through the cut without the open wound. But as you say, there was no mention of that. But you do learn that the secrets that people are keeping, and that Mekhi Phifer's keeping Luna's secret, that she's been cut. But I suppose at that time, they're really not too sure as to what changes them, if it's a bite or if a scratch is like that. But even when it comes evident later on that he still has that dick move of covering it up, which is, it's understandable, but there's not really any payoff for it, is there?
No, his character in this is really confusing, isn't it? I know he's obviously loves his girlfriend and he wants to have his child and stuff, but it's just so odd. It's very unbelievable, isn't it, that someone would do that?
Yeah,
and cover it up and carry on the facade. And stuff.
Yeah. Do you think that he'd then? I know he knows what's going to happen because you can tell on his face he knows that she's doomed, but they decide to remain there. They'd be better off just leaving and seeing what he can do on his own rather than staying there and heighten the chances of someone there, as they do in the end, execute her for when she turns into a zombie. But when they go on the roof and there's that helicopter and it's the army flying over and they've got SOS painted on top of the roof, what reason do you think it was that the helicopter didn't actually stop, bearing in mind that they're all humans, and they even put out on the radio and on the TV that if we find you, we'll come and rescue you?
I don't know. I thought they were just scouting the area to see if they could find any survivors. But again, nothing else happens with that, does it? You see one helicopter go over once and then you don't see another one, do you?
No, it's really weird, isn't it, that they didn't pick them up and that didn't come into play. But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. But one thing that is quite strange is you see the guy over the road. He's in like a gun shop on the roof, and throughout the film, that Ving and him build up a kind of relationship. You see them playing like chess together, and they're holding up a board and communicating through like binoculars, reading the board.
Proper bromance, isn't it?
It is a bit of a bromance. And in the extra scenes of this, he actually does a video diary.
Oh, really?
And he's recording himself, and he's in the shop. It goes on, and it's terrible. Honestly,
is it really?
Yeah, it doesn't add anything. He's just talking about how hungry he is, and there's kind of like flashbacks, and it's just. I'm so glad they left this out. I mean, they left a lot of violence out because the MPA blocked a lot of it, and they put it in the uncut version. But they also added so many more news reports of going back to the hospital and interviewing doctors and people who have been bitten.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I thought it sounded like it was going to be really quite interesting, and then you just said it really isn't. So I won't be going back to watch that.
No, it's worth actually for the special effects to see how they did that, because that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
But the kind of the last half an hour is just they put in all of the added extras of like the video diary and things like that, things that didn't need to be in it, and it would have ruined it because it would have made it too serious and padded out for characters who had no arc whatsoever. I mean, the guy over the road, to be honest, didn't give you anything. You knew he was on his own. But apart from that, you didn't really give a shit about him whether he lived or died, did you?
No, I think it was the romance between, the bromance between him and Ving, so Kenneth, was nice. It was quite fun watching that sort of going on and seeing their relationship develop. And you did sort of think, it'd be really nice if they did manage to get him and, get away and stuff. But as most films like this go, there's probably no chance it's going to happen. So you try not to get too connected to them, do you?
No. I think to a certain degree of people who you can invest in and people who you can't invest in, and it's and because of these characters, I think it got to. I mean, it's on about 35 minutes where new characters are kind of brought into this, because the film reaches a bit of a stalemate where there aren't any zombies and nothing's really happening, and a lot of the characters aren't building on their characters. There's no arcs. You've got the two people who are on CJ's side, the two other security guards. They're bringing nothing. They're like stupid cops from Police Academy, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, you're right. It is stale, and it's like, well, what's going to happen? But they're just going to stay in a mall, and some of them are going to get locked up, and the other ones aren't, and they've got
to turn on each other, or zombies have got to come in. Because even Mekhi Phifer and Ludo, his missus, is not part of it, and he keeps taking her away to protect her, because obviously he's very doubtful as to the success rate of her living because of the scratch on her arm. So, and it gets to the stage where they're on the roof, and thankfully they do bring fresh blood in, and you get this lorry turning up with this old lady with more people on it, and they do take out quite a few zombies. And when they arrive, you've got a very mixed bag of people, and you've got this massive fat lady who's in a wheelbarrow. And in fact, that's a bloke with loads of makeup on, being that stuntman. Really? That is. It's an actual guy. They put loads of makeup on, and they change the wigs around so many times to make it look like a female, and it's a bloke in that. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, because you should hear him speak, and he makes a joke about them looking up his skirt when he's on that wheelbarrow with his legs wide apart.
And they do. It is weird because they are sort of looking at it going, "Oh God."
It's so funny, but
it is funny.
He or she looks so rough. It looks like someone who's been dead for a long time in Seven. That one sitting at the table, I think, is Gluttony.
Yeah.
There's no way you'd do anything for her. She's got veins sticking out of her arm like she's a corpse, and she's virtually turning. And it's just quite funny because she's a goner, basically. She may as well have a bloody tag on her toe.
Yeah, she might as well. Yeah. Try and roll her into the body bag. She's gone. She's gone. Yeah.
And it's through her that you realise that stuff is actually going wrong, because it's a great change from her, and it's really, really good the way they leave these things in these kind of films for the audience. And again, if you've watched any types of these films, even TV series like The Walking Dead, she dies, and then they do the classic thing of turning their back on her, but half the screen is left open for her, and she does this Mike Myers sitting up thing, and then one of the eyes kind of glazes over into like blue, and she chases after Anna, and Anna just picks up this fire poker and just rams it right through her head. It's a really good death.
Oh, it is. The run that guy that's pretending to be a woman does is absolutely genius as well. It's just so fucking funny.
It is superb, isn't it?
It's just fucking fantastic.
It's like the first indication that something's happened. And that's sadly when they realise that the guy watching, who's been bitten on the hand, who openly tells everyone I've been bitten on the hand, knows that really he's a goner as well, and it's only a matter of time. And Michael decides to take it upon himself to go and shoot him in the head. I know that he's alive and he's a human at this time, but Michael's right, isn't he?
Oh, he is right. I mean, I suppose you could handle it in a different way and say, look, mate, you're going to die because you're going to turn into a zombie. It's up to you. We either throw you out the door now and you become one of them, or we can shoot you, or you can shoot yourself. Which one do you want to do? Or, or maybe not shoot yourself because you could turn the gun on them. But, the fact that they just turn up and go, and she goes in there first like an absolute dick and goes, they're going to come kill you.
It was shit. That was absolute shit. I bet she was a fucking grass at school. I bet she was.
Of course she was. Teacher. Fuck off.
And then she goes to that other guy who's sitting there with nothing to do with it. Yeah, why don't you shoot him as well? And he's like, whoa, what are you on about?
Hang on a minute. Hang on.
I didn't do anything. But yeah, it's a real shit way of dealing with that situation, which is never good. It would have been easier, and it looked like Ving was quite willing just to walk up and shoot him as well. So they should have just distracted her. Michael gone in there, bang, put one on his head, and that's him dead.
Yeah, see you later. Good night.
I mean, no one really knew his name, and he didn't much of a speaking part, so no one's going to miss him.
I recognised him as an actor, but I couldn't tell you who he was. But
no.
Yeah, he isn't in it for very long, obviously.
No, exactly. And then they go and focus on, again, Luda and Mekhi Phifer's character, which, I mean, we'll talk about the elephant in the room. That she is pregnant, and they do give birth, or she gives birth, and the scene is just so, to me, it's so dreadful that at least he has a common sense of tying her in the bed. But she dies. But when she's dead, the baby is still moving inside her stomach, and it's just nonsense, because you know what's going to happen. He knows what's going to happen, and it would have been better for me. And when I watched this with a missus who hadn't seen this either, she said, "What, is the baby going to eat itself out of her womb?" And which would have been so much better, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, it could have been. It could have been a bit like Alien, couldn't it? Definitely. But I think I like the fact that it is still an infant, so it's tiny. It's a newborn baby, so it wouldn't have been able to have the strength to do it. So I just found the whole thing really unnecessary.
Yeah, and that was a real baby as well.
Was it? No.
It was. What they did was the makeup they used on that baby was actually food, baby food, and they actually show it in the making of this. They put the CGI DI special effects, so it had that kind of glistening effect. But the actual baby, because they wanted to put makeup on, and then thought, yeah, maybe we don't put makeup on a baby, so they covered it in different bits of food as makeup, and it's. Yeah, according to Zack Snyder in the interview, it's a real baby. So.
Oh, well, fair enough if that's what he said, but
it didn't look like one to me. It looked like
a real to at all, especially when it opens his arms up and stuff like that.
It looked like a puppet to me.
Of course, it did. Yeah, I don't think that's true at all. But okay, Zach.
Yeah. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I thought, because it looks a bit fake, but. And it is funny because when they do go back to Anna, who's talking to Michael, she turns around and says, "Oh, I'm really glad you didn't do it," as in shooting that girl's dad. And as she says that, in the background you hear a big gunshot where he's changed, and Ving Rhames has put a shotgun to his head and just blown his head off.
Just blown him up. It's like, yeah, see you later.
Do you know, I found this really disappointing at the lack of gore. Did you?
I didn't really think about it, to be honest. You get quite a lot of heads being blown up and stuff, aren't you? When you and bits and pieces like that. So no, I don't think it really bothered me, to be honest.
So that's what I love about the zombie films. I love the gore, and I can't remember. I think it might be Day of the Dead when they're in the underground, like the original one when they're in the underground bunker. I think it's Day of the Dead Bloodlines, the new one. And you get one of the soldiers who's literally pulled in half. And I remember again watching the making of it when they got sheep's intestines, and that when they pulled this guy in half, they kind of used the sheep's intestines as his intestines have been ripped up, and it was so clever. And I love the gore. I think these kind of films gives you the freedom and the opportunity to have that gore. And I like the fact that some of the zombies do actually have like limbs missing. And they use that because they've got so many extras in. And it's like a factory of makeup of different stages. And some of them who have been cut, there was a really good one, a guy with one arm. And it's at the start when they go to that shopping mall. And he sees them and he starts running after them with one arm. And he actually has got just one arm. And they added makeup to his kind of stump to look like veins coming out and things like that. So so it was great that they included people with various disabilities and used it to their advantage as extras.
No, that is good.
And again, when you see the zombies, like the view from the top of the shopping mall, again, it's just they've got 300 extras. And they just use the special effects to times it into like 1,500 of them, which I think's really clever.
Yeah, it's clever. But special effects do have their place, doesn't it? And I like the fact that they mix the two and it works quite well, because you can't really tell the difference, can you? Which is quite nice.
And I couldn't see, and we spoke about earlier about the guy opposite who's talking to Vin, who's got the bromance. He never had really any part in it, and it's stupid way he actually dies. That it goes back to the muscle memory as well, because they've got this dog and they want to get something over to him. He says he's hungry, so they use this dog that they find to get food over. And for some reason, the zombies don't attack this dog who's running through them. That doesn't make any sense to me, does it?
No, I guess they don't eat animals, but why wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. It's a living thing and it's barking. Yeah. And they lower it from a crane into a whole group of them, and they don't do anything. And If they've, it just doesn't make sense. It's a living
No,
being, and these zombies
no,
haven't got brains. They don't think about it.
no. Of course they don't. They just want flesh, don't they? They want to eat living
Yeah.
flesh, and surely, you know. I mean, I know they're in a mall, so you're not going to see any other wildlife, but you know, you'd think they fucking eat anything. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
tropey. It's tropey, isn't it? But
But there was no payoff for because when they get the dog over there, the dog obviously gets stuck, and it goes through the cat flap. So then the zombies go through the cat flap, and so the daughter of the dad who's been shot, she loves that dog, and she runs over there to try and rescue it. Which,
oh no, fucking hell.
to be fair, having been a dog person myself, it reminded me of John Wick. If they took John Wick's dog, John Wick would be down there with a pencil, and every single zombie would be dead.
The difference is John Wick could do that, and especially
Yeah.
you know if it was John Wick from John Wick 2, it just you kill everyone.
Yeah,
You know,
it will be so good, honestly. The next John Wick takes out zombies.
That's it. It will be John
Be a
Wick
legend.
against the zombies. Yeah,
I'd love it.
It would be good form. It's good film, wouldn't it? But she isn't John Wick. I'm not being funny. She isn't. You know, Nicole is not. She's, and you know, I love dogs. I think they're amazing animals, but I'm not being funny. I wouldn't risk my life to save it.
And she's only had it a day.
Yeah, exactly. I know she's had her dad shot in the head, and she's now got this massive affiliation with this dog that they found in the parking lot and all this sort of stuff. But still, you've got to be fucking stupid, haven't you, to do what she does, get in a lorry and drive across and basically, you know, go into a building full of zombies.
Yeah, it's not even her dog. It's just
no.
It's nonsense. If it was something that she brought along with her and it was a childhood friend and stuff like that, then fair enough. But they all go across to rescue her, and then it just causes absolute carnage. It really does. And also, we haven't gotten to the fact that the old lady who originally turned up driving the lorry ends up shooting Micaiah Pfeiffer's missus, who's turned into a zombie. And she gets shot in the same time as well. So in that one scene, you've got old lady who's like Dirty Harry. She gets taken out. Micaiah Pfeiffer does. The baby does, and the girlfriend does.
Oh, that. Like I say, that whole thing for me was completely unnecessary. I understand why they did it with the birth of the baby and all this sort of stuff, but I'm not being funny. She goes to check on him, and he's there holding a zombie baby and with a gun, and his missus is dead. Oh no, she's there, isn't she?
Yeah, she's there
with a gag in her mouth or a belt in her mouth to gag her to stop her biting him. And he goes, "Oh, have you come to kill my family?" It's like, what do you mean kill your family? They're fucking dead, mate. They're already dead.
Exactly.
It just didn't resonate with me whatsoever. It was just like, oh, come on. You know, and there was a lot of moments in this film. I guess that is just zombie films, though, isn't it? You sit there and you go, seriously, people, you wouldn't do this. But it's entertaining. You just need to sort of look past that a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense, but it's I just don't see what they got out of it, and the fact that she dies, kind of unnecessary death. And that wasn't going anywhere. I mean, he was never going to have that baby, and it was never going to work out, and it never brought anything to the story. It didn't add anything. It was pointless. If the baby would have survived and it would have been human, and he had to look after that baby, that would have been better. But again, it would have annoyed me because it would have slowed the story down. Having a baby in there. I mean, I hate these films when they've got babies, and the baby has to be quiet, otherwise it will give stuff away. I mean, just leave the baby somewhere in a drawer and just go. I know that sounds pretty heartless, but it annoys me as a viewer.
Isn't it? Yeah, no. You know, if you go on to that long series of zombies, when the main character's missus has a baby, it sort of started going downhill quite considerably for me, because it was very much like that. It's like, oh, everyone's concentrating on the fucking baby all the time. It's like, oh, come on. You know, I
Yeah.
know it's a twist in the story and stuff like that, but yeah, I kind of have to side with you on that. And I know it sounds harsh, just leave it in a drawer, but it doesn't add anything, does it?
No, not at
The
all.
whole thing, the scene didn't add anything. I think they just wanted to show his love for his family and how much he's wanted to have this kid and stuff like that. But in all seriousness, it's utter nonsense. You wouldn't do it.
No, it's bollocks. But I do like the bit when they go down the underground car park, and that's when the film really starts to get going. You get more zombies, and that's on the hour mark, and all of the guys go down there. You get one of the security guards gets taken out, and I love the way he gets taken out, because you've got this stuntman, and he is a stuntman, and he's actually got no legs in real life, and he's climbing on the pipes, and he's on this like kind of zip wire to aid him, obviously, in real life. And it's brilliant. He climbs on the pipes and just jumps down and just gets the bloke by the neck. And he just, again, bites another chunk. And that's another numpty down who we didn't know. And then you get this really good shootout where they're penned into this cage and they're running out of ammunition. And it's Michael who decides to douse them in petrol. And I think in any film, I think it's an amazing stunt when someone is set on fire. It just looks so good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It does look good. You do wonder how they do it. I mean, it's to be on fire that long and stuff like that. But I loved it when this guy died. I know that sounds horrible, but his character was such a twat.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to when he was going to bite it.
Yeah, and it was only a matter of time, wasn't it, when he bit the dust, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. But it was lovely when he did, because it's like, oh, thank God, because you're annoying.
You want him out of the way, and once he's out of the way, then that's that chapter over, and then you can just move on, and someone else is going to die, and it'll be the next pointless character.
Yes, generally it is, isn't it? You're just lining them up like, all right, in this particular scene with zombies, which one's going to get bitten or ripped in half or whatever. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's, they kind of have stupid ideas like sending the dog across and stuff like that, and it then goes to a really weird direction. They suddenly decide that they don't want to die in a shopping mall, and it's just nonsense, because they all kind of say it, and it doesn't play out well. It's as if like, right, this is the final third act, and this is what we're going to do. And you get Ty Burrell, Phil Dunphy as Steve in this, who's like a rich, arrogant idiot. He plays that kind of character.
Well. Yeah.
That he says, okay, why don't we just escape and go to my boat down by the marina? And they're like, yeah, that is a brilliant idea. Why don't we do that? And to be honest, in a zombie apocalypse, if you could be on a cruise liner, I know it didn't work out too well with COVID on cruise liners, but if you could be on a cruise liner where everyone was safe, and this isn't like a virus-borne infection, that it would be the place to be, wouldn't it? So as long as you had water.
As long as you had water and food, you'd be happy as Larry, wouldn't you? And cruises go out for ages, so you should be all right. It would be a fantastic way to survive. But I'm not being funny. They could have probably survived in this mall for a lot longer before they decided, oh, let's go on to the next thing, or I don't, Yeah, it just seemed to be very odd. Like all of a sudden, I don't want to die here. So, okay.
No, and it's their only undoing of the reasons of why it's all gone Pete Tong, really, isn't it? Because if they would have stayed up on that second floor, the zombies would have been downstairs. I know it's a matter of time before they do run out of food and stuff, but surely the zombies would have gone at some point. They wouldn't have stayed there, and they probably would have outlived the zombies anyway.
You think eventually, if they know they can't get in or something else happened, they'd potentially wander off, in search of food, in search of something living. But I don't know. It's very odd. Like you say, the decision making is just very odd, isn't it? That every part of their downfall is stupidity. Yeah. Really, and it's just. You're completely right. If you hadn't done that, this wouldn't have happened. But there you go. Yeah, and it would have made for a boring film, though, wouldn't it? So.
Well, it would have done. and it's still nice knowing that you've got redneck man, cannon fodder, bald bloke who hasn't said a lot, cannon fodder, token gesture, attractive woman. Again, her name I don't think has been mentioned, and she hasn't said a lot apart from being rogered by Phil Dunphy.
Yes.
And there, and you've got obviously security guard number 3, who's kind of turned good, and then you've got CJ, who's baddie turned good as well. So at least 4 more people, possibly 5, the main the characters, or they're not main characters, but out of these characters are going to die because they've done nothing. So it's quite nice that you've still got that. But what did it for me, and I love it, when they have the montage of let's escape. Handily enough, there's 2 buses downstairs that we're then going to do up with loads of armor, and then put barbed wire on, and they're going to weld it and cut it and just put steel doors on it. And that montage they did, isn't it handy? Because if I was there, I wouldn't know how to do any DIY or welding, but they've always got people who know how to do it.
Oh, they all know how to do it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I was actually half expecting the 18 music to come on. And I was disappointed when it didn't, to be honest, because I was like, come on, let's do it.
I don't know anyone who welds, and you've got virtually half of this team welding stuff onto the bus.
Exactly. It's true, isn't it? It's completely right. You're completely right. It's like, right, okay, we're going to do these buses up. Okay, which one? Who wants to do the welding? And they all just put their hands up. It's just,
It's so good, and they've got all of the tools down there. Obviously, they've got the hardware shop, but even you could give me all of those tools, I would not have a clue to do it. Or if I did, as soon as that bus moved, it would all fall off.
I'd end up accidentally cutting it in half or something like that.
I'd build it so high that it couldn't leave the underground car park.
Yeah. Dunk. Oh shit! Sorry, guys.
I thought the turrets looked good, but obviously, maybe not a good idea.
After all.
It's so good, but so it's the fallout from their rescue mission of getting this dog back and the woman and stuff like that is what is their downfall. Is when they realise for some reason they can't be in the shopping mall. And that they go back from their failed attempts. You've got Redneck Man, who gets killed because he's being pulled along by CJ, and he's shooting these zombies as he's being pulled along. And brilliant. It's so good, isn't it? Because they're getting closer and closer, and the look on his face, he's absolutely terrified, and rightly so. And they just jump on him and start eating him. And thankfully, CJ does the right thing. And this is his kind of arc as when he's turning into a good guy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's realised that he can't just be a dick anymore. He's got to sort of be a part of the team and stuff like that. And he does try and redeem himself. He does redeem himself later, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I know it's kind of tropey that he's going to do that, but it works for me. I really like it because he does become a real team player and a useful member of the team, doesn't he?
No, he does, and it is nice that bloke you instantly hate at the beginning of this film because he's just an utter prick. At the end, you're like, fair play to you, mate. You've made up for it.
Yeah, and it's good, and it needs that, and he plays it well, and it's good the fact that in this situation you do need each other, and that you would you can't hold a grudge. You've just got to be a team, and they do that, and it works really well. And due to them trying to do this rescue mission, they jump on the buses, and I like the action on the buses. Again, it's the special effects, and it does work well when they go outside and they're surrounded, and obviously it's kind of CGI'd, but surrounded by so many zombies. And one of the bits was cut out when Phil Dunphy has his chainsaw and he's going along the side of that bus and he's cutting them in half. They actually showed a lot more blood and gore of people being cut in half.
That's the thing, it was quite tame, wasn't it, that side of it, to be fair. You saw a couple of legs being chopped off, didn't you? But generally you'd think, there'd be a hell of a lot more gore.
Yeah.
It's just weird how, because they get stuck, don't they? There's so many zombies that they sort of get stopped. And I think the bit with the barrel is hilarious.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. When he shoots that gas canister, and you get like a nuclear mushroom cloud explosion, and it is not one bit of damage to their trucks, is there?
What made me laugh was the fact that why is this ridiculously hench zombie holding it above his head?
Yeah.
It's like muscle memory. Oh, must lift weight. It's
Yeah.
like, why is he holding it and picking it up? It just didn't make any sense to me.
Because if it would have fallen on the floor, he wouldn't have been able to shoot it.
Exactly. It was
Yeah.
like, how can we get him to shoot the barrel? Oh no, let's get a really muscly zombie to pick it up and hold it above his head. It's just, it was still funny. It was still good, but was it awful tropey?
It was real tropey. I enjoyed it. I loved that explosion. I'd like to have seen more zombies, like bits being thrown into the air and stuff like that, and fallout of zombies crawling on the floor, bits of them, because they could have really played on that idea.
Yeah, they could have done.
But you've got this, as they all escape, you've got that zombie holding onto the side of the coach and one of the buses. And it's quite funny because that's when the old guy, no name, picks up a chainsaw to cut him in half. And because Ving is smashing this bus around in so many different ways, that fit woman, again with no name, he cuts her in half with the chainsaw. And it's so funny. It really is. It's like, how can we think of a really gory way just to bring the cast down by 2 more characters?
No. It's so odd, isn't it? And it's like, I was watching this going, why is he driving like such a dick?
Yeah.
He's in this completely overbearing, sort of, the bus is now ridiculously over heavy. And one, why is he driving like such a dick? And 2, why has the weird shoe fetish man decided to pick up a chainsaw while it's bumping around all over the place? It was just like, well, this is only going to go one way, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it. They're not being, as you say, mate, they're not being chased by hordes of zombies.
No.
But
why drive like a dick?
It's so good. It is so funny. And in the making of this, they kind of done loads of casts of her body. And when that chainsaw goes down, on the kind of Plaster Paris cast, they actually cut out a diagonal slot and then filled it with those blood bags. And they just used the chainsaw and cut down those blood bags. So once they cut it down, they could then take it out and add more blood bags, and then could do it at a different angle and different angle.
Oh, okay.
And it's quite entertaining how they did it, but it's pointless death, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it causes the buses to crash, which again allows Steve to get out, Phil Dunphy, and he gets attacked by the zombie, and that's when you get the moment he said earlier when he should have broken the fourth wall. If I ever get attacked by a zombie, shoot me in the head. And Anna comes along. And again, it's when you've seen the making of this and you've seen those kind of blood tubes around the back, which they explode for every headshot. And it's done really well. He explodes that headshot himself and he dies. And it's really, really good to see when they actually filmed this on set of his reaction of watching it. It's absolutely brilliant. But
it is. Yeah.
I'm glad he died because he was another character who was a complete bellend, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. There's quite a few characters in this that are complete bellends, isn't there?
And I struggle to take him seriously because I love Modern Family so much. I just can't take him. So I expect Claire to turn up and tell him off or something like that. It's just absolutely brilliant. But you do get loads of zombies and chasing them, and suddenly she manages to pick up the keys. And I did wonder what she went back to his body for, to grab, but it's only the keys for his boat. And that's when, to the watching audience who's paying attention, Michael has a bit of a sigh, and you know that something's happened, and that he's been bitten whilst he was trying to rescue Anna and everyone else who's coached the crash. And he does like the sensible thing later on, but their bus drives right into the pier. And I kind of thought, what are they doing? Are they going to try and drive underwater into their boat? I mean, it's way over the top, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's like, actually, with all our welding and everything else we did, we've actually made it a submersible. It's now a submarine. We're going to go on our travels. That
wouldn't have surprised me.
Yeah, it really wouldn't have done. It was just...
it's so funny.
It's just the whole thing, isn't it? It's like you said. And you think about it, right? They've got this massive bus, and well done them. They can all weld, and they fit it out really nice. I'm surprised there isn't some sort of vending machine in there or a chandelier or something. But, people or zombies can only run so fast. So surely just, drive fast enough that they can't get you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if they're holding on, so what? Just at the right time, get rid of them. You don't need to smash into stuff to do it, but it does give CJ his final part of his arc, his character change, and I like the way he goes out. And it's a shame because I really started to like him, but you knew he had to die, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. He did. He had to die because he was such a fucking arsehole.
Yeah.
But it is funny how the fact that he shoots over the flare through, so the heat of the bullet lights the flare, which then blows up the gas canister.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's
oh
perfect.
my god! I thought for a moment it was a scene from that wonderful film Shoot 'Em Up.
Oh yeah.
And he was going to start shooting bullets off of things to turn a carousel or something.
You could have chucked carrots into their heads and stuff like that. It would have been superb.
Yeah.
But that's when they all make it to the boat, and it turns out that thankfully he has got a boat rather than he was bullshitting about a boat, because if he was a liar then they would have been absolutely screwed at being by the pier with no boat.
Yeah.
But Michael delivers the heartbreaking news because him and Anna have built up a relationship, and this is where he's been bitten, and he does a sensible thing because he turns out to be a really sensible guy, a proper hero, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he is a realist, isn't he? He just understands that he's done everything he can to survive, but he's been unlucky that he's been bitten. And rather than go, well, I'll come along anyway, I'm sure it'll be fine. He's like, I'm just going to go. I'm going to stay here. You lot, best of luck to you.
Yeah,
and he's a very good character.
He is a good character, and I think it's a good decision that he dies, because him and kind of Ving are the two main males left, aren't they? The alpha males, and I think it's good that one of them goes. It was never ever going to be Ving, was it? Not at this point, anyway.
No, he's too hardcore, isn't he?
Exactly, and he's left standing on the dock, and he's got a gun, and you don't see it, but you hear the gunshot that he's taken his own life, hasn't he? That's what I took it as, anyway.
Yeah, I think he has. Rather than being eaten by zombies and then turned into, I think he's just thought, fuck that. I'll take my own life. It's my choice.
Yeah, he goes out the way he wants to go out. And it's interesting that, and I wonder what was going on in this, because as they sail away, they do a close-up on Anna's face, and she's obviously very sad because the person she actually could have had sex with, probably on the earth, that has turned into a zombie. And then the credits come up, and then after about 5 seconds, you get this woman who's topless with her boobs out. And I did wonder what was actually happening on this film. I thought, it's getting good for once.
Yeah, I know. I got excited. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't particularly like this bit, to be honest. It was a bit odd. I suppose it's quite clever the way they did it, but I'm not being funny. Because it's the young security guard, isn't it, that keeps filming them. He's found Steve's camera from his boat, and he's got, and they keep saying, get that camera out of my face. The first thing that would have been thrown in the fucking sea.
Yes, 100%. It would have been, let me have a look at that a minute, and just chuck it in the water.
Definitely. And it's like, fuck off. Stop being a dick.
Yeah.
But it was quite fun in the way they did it. And it was quite nice at the fact that they, a lot of these films, they sail off into the distance and find somewhere and it's all good. But they don't.
Yeah. No, and I kind of, to a certain degree, that they kind of, it annoyed me that they kept showing the credits and then they kept flicking to different bits. And they find this boat with this head in the call box, and I don't really understand the point of that. I do like it. I think it's great fun.
Yeah.
Having a zombie's head in that call box. I mean, it looks brilliant, and I love it. And I wish there was more of that in the film. But you see that there's maggots on food, they're running out of water, and they do get to this island. And then this dog runs off and starts fucking barking. And if you want to be quiet and you've got a dog, it's like that baby situation, a dog running off barking. It just alerts everyone. And you find out that the island they've gone to is just full of zombies.
Well, I didn't get this either. Because when they first got on the boat and they start sailing off, there's an island right in front of them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, and it looked fairly close, then all of a sudden they have sailed off, and it's a sailboat, but yet the engine's on fire and they're running out of food. It's like, you all know how to weld, but you can't lower a fucking sail, so surely you could have got there a little bit quicker if you needed to. And why would you then go to a fuck off size island? Because there's bound to be lots of people on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me at all. Surely you go to the little island that was closer to see what was there.
Yeah, you'd think so. It's just
maybe that's just my weird logic, but it didn't make it. Yeah, it sort of fell apart. Well, there's lots of things about this film that aren't particularly.
Because I didn't want to know that they all died, and I take it that they all died in the end, didn't they?
No, they must have done, because they all had hundreds of zombies running at them, so I imagine they all copped it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I just didn't want to know that. I'd like to have been left, like, did they live, did they not live, or kind of make up your own mind as to the way things work out.
I'm pleased that they did, to be honest. I'm pleased, because that meant there couldn't be another one. It was sort of chapter closed, if you like. On if they wanted to do another Dawn of the Dead, but following someone, that did survive from a different group. But it was quite nice that this story was put to bed.
Yeah, it's quite nice, but I always like it in my simple mind of left open to think, I wonder if they did survive. It'd be quite nice to think that they did, but yeah, it kind of makes it final, bang, that is it. They all got ripped apart, and I think there's nice to have been given a bit of hope, but you never get that in these films, do you? But yeah, that is 2004 Dawn of the Dead, and again, it's a film I hadn't seen. I've watched it twice now this week, and the making of as well. And I do like these films, and they're very easy watching. And I enjoyed this film, and it is really, really good fun to watch. And I think it has got a really good cast. And obviously, we do watch this to pick at it, and we're very, very kind of into detail. And obviously, it sounds like we ripped it apart and it's a load of shit. And to me, it isn't. That I do like it, and I'd quite happily watch it again in, I don't know, a few months' time. If it was on TV, I'd quite happily sit and watch it. But I wish it was more scary. I wish it was a lot more gorier, and possibly a bit more tongue-in-cheek. Because I don't think you can take these films too serious. And I think, which is why Zombieland works well. I mean, the cast is really good and it's written really well, but it is tongue-in-cheek. It's like Scream when they talk about the rules of a horror film and the rules of zombies, and I love the way that works because it instantly shows, you don't need to take this film too serious. We're going to have a bit of fun with the subject of zombies. And I would like to, the Dawn of the Dead, to have done this, where Zack Snyder he clearly does love zombie films, but I'd have liked him to get this opportunity and think, I'm going to have a bit of fun with this. But I know, being a remake of the original film, you'd be probably ripped apart by the fans of the originals, you know what I mean? So it's dangerous ground in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he just alluded to it really, but yeah, they tried to take this seriously, but unfortunately it doesn't. You can't take it seriously, even though it's trying to be serious.
No, but I'd give this 3.5 out of 5, and just because it is good fun, and just the subject and the nature of it itself, you can't take it too serious. And I think because there's been so many films like this, it's hard to get an original idea and take it somewhere where it's not been. So I just like there to have been a bit more violence and gore and tongue in cheek, but I did enjoy it, and I'd quite happily watch it again and go back and watch all the other films as well, because I liked it. But what do you think of it, mate?
Yeah, like I say, I'd seen this years ago. I mean, this is 2004, so it's been out bloody ages. But and I remember really enjoying it. And I have to say, on viewing it again, I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much. And maybe that's because I've seen better zombie stuff since. So I'm obviously comparing it to that. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I recommend it. If you like zombie films and you want the usual sort of trope of a zombie film, that everyone's going to die and people are going to do stupid shit to put people in jeopardy, then yeah, do it. It's well shot. It's got some fantastic little individual scenes in it. But would I watch it again? I probably would. If it was on and there was nothing else on, I might watch it. But I don't know. I don't feel this is aged well. I think there's better zombie films out there. It tries to take itself seriously, but unfortunately, you just can't take it seriously due to the stuff that's in it. So yeah, I'd probably give it 2.5.
That's fair. I think it's easier. It must be easier to make a film rather than the series, because The Walking Dead, I invested so much time. I think I got up to the place of when they left the prison, and it got so boring and so repetitive. I was looking for an end, and I wanted to know how it ended, but they kept dragging it on to finding more people, more camps, moving on, and the story just got boring and repetitive. But at least in a film, you can have that bit of fun and escapism for an hour and a half, and which is why I chose this film, because it is only just over an hour and a half, which is good fun. I'd rather watch this, and I think Army of the Dead as well. And I said earlier that it did get its critics, but at least that was a bit tongue in cheek, even though a lot of it didn't make sense and it wasn't explained, and it was a bit lazy writing.
Yeah.
But it's just, if you overlook the pregnancy and the leader of the zombies and stuff, I just think it's good fun, and I try not to take these films too serious, because
that's the thing, you can't take these films seriously, but it's frustrating when the people that make them are trying to take it seriously, and you can see that they are, but you can't. And
they're never going to win awards, are they, these films?
No, and like you say, that I think the biggest frustration isn't it, the fact that people have known about the zombie thing for fucking decades, but you make these and then obviously no one understands what zombies are or how they come about, and it would be and instantly is oh god, can we stop throwing out the same old how does this happen, because you know how it happens, just let's move on to the story of how you're going to survive it.
And that's the one good thing in Zombieland, when Bill Murray dresses up as a zombie, and they in zombies. I know it ends in his death when he gets shot, which is absolutely priceless. But it's great because they're taking the piss. But it will be really nice in this film for them to actually say, they're the Walking Dead. It's the stuff of films. Like, it's not true. Well, it is true, and just acknowledge it.
Exactly.
Yeah. To say I don't know what they are is bollocks.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's something you can sit down, like you say, for an hour and a half and give it a watch. And I don't think you'd regret watching it, but you might slap yourself in the face a few times, face palm with some of the shit that they do. But that's good. That's just what it is.
But so next week, so that was Dawn of the Dead. Next week we will hopefully have James back. We'll have Paul back as well. You don't know, or might we never have back, but we're going to enter the Matrix. We're going to enter the Matrix Reloaded, the second one. So, and I've watched the second one, and I've watched the third one as well. And it's going to be a really interesting pod, because I think we're going to get so many different points of view on this. And I think it will be some very different opinions. So it'd be interesting to see the side of the fence that you're on. I mean, I found them, as it went on, I found it very laborious, I have to say, and it was just patting itself on the back, and I found it so hard to watch. Honestly, I really did. It was tough watching, but still.
We'll see. We'll see what everyone says. I'm not going to give anything away just yet.
So next week it's Matrix 2, Reloaded. Then it's the Matrix. What is it? Revelations.
Revelations or whatever the fuck it is.
Something. We'll be doing the two Matrix films. So Make sure you join us next week for that, because it's going to be really interesting. If you're new to the podcast, thanks ever so much, and I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard. But there's so many different episodes. I think it's about 166 different episodes that we've done. There, if you go on our Twitter, when we first started doing this, I uploaded every episode each week on Twitter, but we're on Spotify, iTunes, and all good podcasting platforms. So, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks ever so much to everyone who carries on listening. And the volume of listeners is just increasing every month, and I say that every month, but it is, and it's getting 55,500 listeners. Ooh. We had this month, which is
That's amazing.
It's just mental. So but yeah, so thanks to everyone. We'll be back next week, second Matrix, and watch it. It's on Netflix at the moment. They're showing all of the Matrix films, so there's no excuse. Jump on that and watch it, and make sure you tune in to next week's podcast. Okay, that's about it from me. Neil, have you got anything to add just before we go, my friend?
I'll just say thank you for tuning in. Recommend us to your friends, and even if it's just to take the piss out of us, we're open to anyone.
Exactly, I second that. Definitely. Okay, everyone, you take care and make sure you join us next week. And that's a goodbye from us. Thanks very much.